Hello and welcome to a new tutorial. We are going to make both chain links and beaded chain links to create a bracelet. Starting out our materials, we are going to be using a 20 gauge solid brass wire to create the chain links. Then we have a string of beads, and you can choose whatever size and color you like. For our tools, we will be using some nylon jaw pliers. We also have our bent chain nose pliers, some needle nose pliers, we have our wire cutters, and we also have our chain nose pliers just in case. Now let's jump into creating this bracelet. I'm going to pop the beads into this little dish for easier access when we start using them. To begin, we are going to pull out a length of our wire and use our nylon jaw pliers to straighten it. After smoothing out the wire, we are going to add 3 beads onto the wire. Next, we are going to take our needle nose pliers and we are going to begin shaping the wire into a loop. Placing the wire into the pliers, we are going to bend it over and create a circle in the wire, slightly bending the long end of the wire back so it is centered under the loop. And then we are going to use our bent chain nose pliers to wrap that short tail of wire around underneath the loop. Securing that wrap underneath the loop, we are then going to draw the beads back up towards the loop. Again, using our needle nose pliers, we are going to place them directly on top of the beads, grasping the wire and then drawing the wire directly over to the side. Readjusting our pliers so that we are holding the wire that we just bent over, we are then going to take that long end of wire and bring it around to create a loop like we did on the first side. Wrapping the long end of wire around a couple times, we are then going to clip it off with our wire cutters, and using our bent chain nose pliers, we are then going to press the end down. And now we have finished creating our first beaded chain link. Now we are going to create our spacer link. Placing the wire into our needle nose pliers, we are going to bring it around and down to create a teardrop shape. Then we are going to create a loop on the other side of the wire to create an infinity shape. Bring it around and down to create a teardrop. Then we are going to thread our beaded chain link into that second loop that we just created, gently pulling the wire apart and then threading it down across the wire into that loop. Now we are going to press that loop closed, and then holding the wire with our bent chain nose pliers, we're going to bend it over once. Snipping off the excess wire, we are then going to use our needle nose pliers to help us hold the chain link as we wrap that other end of wire down and around one time with our bent chain nose pliers. Making sure that both ends of the wire are pressed down flat, we will then use our wire cutters to clip the ends closely to the chain link. After clipping off the excess wire, we can then go back in with our bent chain nose pliers and make sure that those ends are pressed down into the chain link. And now we have the beginnings of our chain. Now I went ahead and made this part of the video as a time lapse because all we need to do now is to create beaded chain links as well as the spacer chain links for as long of a chain length that we need. And of course, the length is going to vary depending on whether you're making a bracelet or a necklace or an anklet or maybe even a pair of earrings. It's all dependent on what you're choosing to make with these chain links. An important note to remember is that whenever you are creating the beaded chain links, be sure to always add the beads onto your wire before you begin bending the loop on the end of the wire. This also applies when you are adding chain links together. Thread the chain link and then your bead, if you're adding beads, onto the wire before you begin creating the loops. If you watch this video closely, you'll notice that I kind of wrap the spacer links a little bit different each time, and this last method that I used I think really worked the best. And so we are repeating the same process over and over until we have the length of chain that we need, creating the beaded chain links as well as the spacer links. As we continue building the length of the chain, we are then going to start adding the chain links that we created to the new links that we are creating. So to create this next part of the link, I'm going to add the spacer link onto the wire, and then I'm going to add the beads to create a beaded chain link. We are then going to create this beaded link as usual, except for when we come to that second loop. When we come to the second loop, we are then going to draw up that chain that we added, and we're going to bring it into the loop, and then using our needle nose pliers, placing them into the loop so that we can hold it as we bring that long end of the wire around to secure the chain together. Using our bent chain nose pliers to press the ends down, we have now added another link onto our chain. Remember to add the links onto the wire before you go on and create whichever link you are creating. If you are creating a spacer link, you're going to add a chain that has beads on it first, and then create your spacer link. If you are creating a beaded chain link, you're going to add a spacer link onto the wire, and then go on to add your beads and create a beaded chain link. And so we are repeating the same process over and over until we have the length of chain that we need. Now that we have the length of chain that we need, I'm going to show you how to create a clasp for your bracelet or necklace. First, I'm going to start by adding a bead onto our wire, and then using our needle nose pliers, we are going to create a small loop in the wire. Leaving a short tail and about a ½ inch long, we are going to bring the wire around into a loop, bring the long end of wire back so it's centered under that loop, and then we are going to add our chain onto this loop. We use our needle nose pliers to hold it as we wrap that tail of wire around underneath the loop. Then we will use our bent chain nose pliers to finish wrapping that wire around, clipping off any excess wire with our wire cutters. Make sure you press that end securely against the wire before drawing up the bead. We're going to place our wire further down into the jaw of the pliers to create a larger loop for our hook and eye closure. Bringing the wire around, we are then going to take the long end of wire and wrap it around as we did with the other side. Bringing it around a couple times, we are then going to clip it off with our wire cutters, and then using our bent chain nose pliers to secure that end against the clasp. Now we are going to create the hook for the closure. Placing a bead onto our wire, we are then going to leave out about 1 inch of wire. We're going to bend the wire in the very tip of our pliers directly over, and we're going to pinch that bend tightly together. Placing our wire into the pliers about 2/3 down from that bend, we are going to take that short end of wire and bend it directly over. Then we are going to wrap that short end of wire around the long end of the wire to create a wrap. Using our bent chain nose pliers, we are going to wrap this tail around underneath that bend in the wire. Then we are going to draw the bead up, and we are going to create a loop here as we did when we were creating the chains. Bending the wire directly over and then readjusting our pliers, we're going to wrap the long end of wire around to create a circle. Next, we're going to clip off the excess wire, leaving a small tail to get that out of the way. Then placing the double wire into our needle nose pliers, we are going to bend it over to create the hook. Then using our bent chain nose pliers, we are going to create a little bend at the end of the hook. Now opening up that loop, we are going to slide our chain into the little loop that we created. Then using our bent chain nose pliers, we are going to secure that loop and wrap the tail of wire around up towards the bead. Using our needle nose pliers to help hold the hook securely as we wrap this wire around. Then we're going to use our wire cutters to snip off any excess wire. Then again, using our bent chain nose pliers to make sure that all the ends of wire are pressed down. And now we have finished creating the hook and eye clasp for our bracelet. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed creating this beaded chain bracelet with me. I would appreciate if you thumbs up this video and be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I bring out a new video. If you would like to see more wire jewelry designs, be sure to go check out my channel where I have many more videos available for you. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.